MRG, everybody. I am so freaking excited for this episode. I got someone on here that I really look up to. We met about 10 years ago. And man, I'm just so excited for you guys to get to know him a little bit better. And this is actually going to be our first like sit down conversation, because we've had some like chit chat, but it hasn't been like nitty gritty. Something that doesn't involve work, but right? It kind of involves work. But normally when we would sit down, it was work related. Yeah. So now we get to really just chat and get to know each other better. Yes. in that regards. Most definitely. But for those of you that don't already know, this is DJ MDOT. Man, I look up to you not only because of what you do professionally, but as a father, as a man of God. And man, I'm just so excited. So let's get down to it. That's love, man. I appreciate that. Yes, sir. So we met about 10 years ago. You know, you're still there, but I used to work also for the Miami Heat. Those are some great times, you know, when we had the big three and the championships and everything like that. And it was such a beautiful time in our city, a time that I truly cherish and, you know, show the people the championship, the hardware that we got. Yes. That's beautiful right there. Yeah. If I would have known, I would have brought mine, but I mean, I didn't, I wasn't prepared, I guess. You know, it's all good. It's all good. But, you know, right now during this quarantine, I know that everyone's been affected. Some people are like losing their minds and stuff, but how have you been holding up? How about your family? Talk to us about that. Family's doing well. Me personally, myself, I've just been trying to refocus, you know, taking time away from being so busy, which I've been for the last 13, 14 years. You know, when you're busy like that, it's just day to day. You have stuff, you know, you're accomplishing goals, you're knocking this out, you're doing this, and you really don't have time for yourself. So with this quarantine, I've just been taking time for myself, and I've been doing a lot of reading. I'm on book number 15. Come on now. Now, this is crazy. This is coming from a kid who read a book maybe once every 3 or 4 years. Okay. You know, and this was one of my goals at the beginning of the year: spend less time on the phone, spend less time watching Netflix and stuff like that, and let's dig into these books. And I was able to do that. Other than that, man, just spending time with my daughter. And yeah, it's been interesting. But, you know, when it is time to go back to work, I'll have a totally different respect for it, you know, because we've been away for so long. So I'm looking forward to it. You know, we were talking about that actually before, a few days ago, of how sometimes when you're in a situation like this, especially us as men, like when you're in a situation that causes you to have to be creative and figure out avenues to support your family, figure out ways to get more creative for your own professional life. Like, I know in my case, I've grown so much. I've been reading a lot, like you have been reading. I've had some new ideas and concepts for my own business that I really feel are going to be successful. So, I mean, seeing that in you and seeing how much now you're spending a lot more time with your daughter, I think those times are precious. Wouldn't you say so? Yeah, and for her, she doesn't understand the quarantine. She's only 2 and a half, so she's just like, well, daddy's home all the time. This is great. Let's go play. Let's do this. Daddy, take me here. Daddy, let's go outside. You know, so she's just, and I'm loving every minute of it because I'm spending every moment with her. But again, it makes you reevaluate your priorities in life, and also prepares you just to refocus. So when we do get back to work, we're taking off. Yes, like we're gonna go right back into it and hit it hard. You know. So plus, like you said, you get to come up with all these ideas of how to expand your brand and what you can do while being quarantined and whatnot. So yeah, it's worked out for the best. So speaking of work, right? You do a lot of it, and I love it. You're constantly grinding. It hasn't always been up here. There's been, you know, valleys that you've had to go through, but let's just read a few of the things that you do, right? Obviously, you're a father. Okay, you're a DJ, TV and radio personality. You're a podcaster, which at the end today, I want you to let us know where we can find all that material. Cool. Tour DJ for listen, and I'm going to be a fanboy for just a second. Okay. One of my favorite celebrity entertainers, artists, whatever you want to call, because this guy's multifaceted, is Jamie Foxx. Okay, yeah. I think he's one of the only people that has a Grammy and an Oscar, if I'm not He has mistaken. A Grammy, Oscar, and a few more. Yeah. I mean, I love the guy, and you're also his tour DJ. Yeah. Just talk to us about how this all came about. People think that from one day to the next, this all happened. But tell us a story about how this all happened. First and foremost, I had no idea that I was going to be in this industry. I've always had a passion for music, you know, growing up. I played the drums for 14 years, so I was that band guy. Wow.
But I was a cool band guy because I played the drums, you know. So that one time at band camp, that was me. But I was knocking out the drums and everything. So everybody was hanging out me, and that was cool.
Okay.
Little did I know that, you know, years later that I'd still be doing music, but in a different avenue. Yeah. So yeah, like it's cool that when I looking back in hindsight, it's like, wow, I was preparing myself for what I'm doing now. So getting into college, I was still unsure what I was about to do. I went to Miami-Dade for a couple of years, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I was really involved, well, not involved, but I was really inspired by law enforcement. You know, so I was going to be a law enforcement officer.
Okay.
That came from playing popcorn and football, playing basketball with the police athletic league. So these people were people that I looked up to, you know. So my coaches were also police officers. So I always thought that was the area I was going to, you know, the avenue I was going to go in, the arena, not the arena, but the direction I was going to go. Yeah. Why am I stuttering so much today? My gosh, Jesus. All right. Anywho, you act like I'm nervous or something, but yeah, we might have to refilm that part. Anywho, so yeah, moving on, getting into college, like I was saying, and it's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go into law enforcement, you know? And then I met DJ Irie, who was just starting off in clubs. And when I was doing it, I was a promoter at the time as well. So I was promoting for the same organization that he just started DJing for, you know, the same promotional group or whatnot. And we knocked it off, like we hit it off, and we were like, wow. I was hanging out with him all the time. I'm like, man, this guy's inspirational. This guy's totally cool. You know, and I start hanging out with other DJs, and I'm like, well, maybe this is the area that I should kind of go into. And I've had a love for radio. So I you know, that's when I was starting to, okay, well, let me try to figure it out. Maybe start taking these radio and television, you know, classes and whatnot, and going to like communications and see what I'm gonna do. And I took these classes, and I was like, wow, man, like this is basically what I want to do. And it led me to where I'm at, like where I'm at now.
So along that journey, you know, from how many years ago was that when that like moment hit, that it was like a pivotal moment where you're like, okay, this is what I want to do? How many years? So
let's say I was, my gosh, this was 2003.
Okay.
2002, 2003, when I was like, this is what I want to do.
About 17 years ago.
Yeah, this was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
I ask you that for this very reason. In our society nowadays, and we constantly talk about this, how because of social media, because of right now we have like 24/7 media where we're constantly seeing and being updated onto other people's lives and the things that they're going through in that particular moment. We immediately expect, oh, this person's 23 years old and they're killing it. They're making all this kind of money. That means I should strive for that. And yeah, we should if that's what you're trying to do, but you don't know someone's journey.
Oh yeah. So, and what's crazy about that, so when I was interested in radio, I was going to Miami-Dade 3 days a week. I had an internship at 99 Jams for Khaled and K Fox. That was when Khaled was on the radio here in Miami. So I was interning with him 3 times a week, as well as doing these part-time clubs and whatnot, as well as working at a law firm. I worked at a law firm in the Daytran building, if anybody knows. That's in Kendall. I was making $10 an hour, bro. I was doing that for many, many years until I got my first opportunity to go on tour. And then I just took off after that.
Man, there's a purpose behind your patience.
And I'm trying to be long-winded so we can go more into that stuff later. So, but
it's all good. It's all good, man. Like, to me, that's just amazing that how many times have you heard of people quit like before? You never know if like maybe if you keep pushing and keep going for that, like later on you might even reach something else.
Yeah, and at first, when I first started off, I was a personality. I was a host at clubs. Okay. So, you know, let's say you were the DJ and you didn't speak on the microphone. I was the guy that was speaking on the microphone. You know, so I was the guy, the hype man and whatnot. And then once that started to deteriorate because people weren't necessarily paying for DJs and hype men anymore because, you know, you want to cut the budget. Yeah. It's like, well, what am I going to do next? So that was when I was like, well, let me make the transition from speaking on the microphone to actually DJing and then speak on the microphone. So because I was good at that and getting people hype, maybe if I learn how to DJ and I can put the two together, then like, you know,
you find your niche.
I find my niche and I'd be okay with that. So, you know, it was a matter of, practicing. Luckily, Khaled took me under his wings along with another DJ Mikey Sims, and all these other DJs that I was cool with, that I was working with while I was just the MC, and I've learned a lot of things from them. The ideals, the conflicts, the EFXs and obscenes and people like that, so on and so forth. And it was just like, okay, well, this is what I want to do now, because I feel like I should be able to do this. And the transition from having that musical background to actually DJing was a little bit easier for me, because I played drums my entire life. So I have rhythm. I know how to count bars. I understand music. And plus, I've been around so many DJs. I picked up the concept of how to do it. So then I had to prove myself, like, well, if you were a promoter, you were like, well, don't you just talk on the microphone? I had to basically prove myself and tell these people, like, no, I actually DJ now too. I'll actually DJ your party for free. Wow. I'll come and show up with my records at the time. This is before laptop. I'll bring my records at the time that I got from the radio station, because Khaled would always get 5 copies of every single record, so he would always hook me up. I bring my records with my boys and open up or do whatever you need me to do, just so I can prove myself. And I proved myself and started making a little name for myself.
Yeah. So you were doing parties for free at the start.
Yeah. When I first started DJing, Geo, like I was rocking for free, just so people can take me seriously, because again, they had known me as the guy that was talking on the microphone. So they just knew me as a host. That's all that was, But when I was like, okay, well, no, I'm DJing now. They were like, no, you're not. No, for real. Like, I'm literally doing this. I'm literally DJing, Here's my records. Just give me an opportunity to show you what I can do, And I won't be like the headliner, but I'll open up for somebody just to learn and do whatever, And people started taking me a little bit seriously, and with great inspiration from Irie and people like Khaled and stuff. It took me to another level.
Yeah. Man, y'all heard it here first. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
So looking back on those times, you've been in the industry for many, many years. What would you tell yourself, young DJ MDOT, that you know now? What would you have told yourself?
Patience. It's not always if you have the talent, nor is it always if you know the right people. It's if that person is willing to help you out as well. Yep. So you got to have patience, because when I was younger, that's just a drive in me that I just don't like to be stagnant. So it's like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. So if I could tell myself back then, just be a little bit more patient, your time will come. And my time did come, and it was pretty fast. So, but I was still a little impatient back then too.
So you said something that's crucial, I think. For people that are successful in any walk of life, I think there needs to be passion.
Right.
You said that was what you were fueled by, that passion.
Yeah.
Okay. Where did that come from?
I think that I've always been like that. From growing up, I was a 4-sport athlete growing up, to being a very, very, like I went to, and another story, I went to middle school, high school, college, all playing drums. So even when I was at Dade, because University of Miami is a private school, they have a program where you can be enrolled in their marching band program, so they can compete with the FSUs and the Gators. If not, then they would have 20 people in their band. So all these kids that were in band in high school, whether Core Park or South Ridge or whatever, if they wanted to continue their musical journey, they were allowed to enroll in that band of the hour thing. So going back as far as that, it was like, I've always been fueled to, like, when I was a drummer, I wanted to be the best drummer. When I was a football player in Pop Warner, I wanted to be the best cornerback I was, or the best receiver. When I was playing basketball, I wanted to be the best 2-guard. When I was running track, I wanted to run the best 100 meter, stuff like that. So that's always been, I think it's always been inside me.
I love that. I love that your competitive drive has allowed you, because this is something that people struggle with. I know that I struggled with when I transitioned from high school to college, and then from college, and I tried to make my little stint in the pros. I know that something that really was difficult for me was, okay, how do I now move this competition, this desire, this passion into something else? And I really struggled with that. Right. And the fact that you were able, and I'm not saying it was easy, but the fact that you were just able to transition that into another field. Yeah. I mean, that's beautiful. And I think that's a lesson for anybody that's watching, is that, even though maybe what you aspired to be. Maybe it wasn't in something that you might have thought. I mean, you turned it into something very successful for your own self. You know what I mean?
And again, I'm not necessarily, I don't know what I inspired to be at the time, because I still kind of felt like I fell into this industry because I was going back and forth, with the law enforcement thing. Like, I think I wanted to do that, but I wasn't 100% sure. It wasn't what I was passionate about. Entertaining was what I was passionate about. And I always had it inside of me. Even going back even further and looking back, I was I was the MC of my pep rallies in high school. Now, I started thinking about that, and somebody brought that to my attention, honestly, maybe about 5 years ago. And I hadn't thought about it till that day. Like 5 years ago, somebody brought it to my attention. Do you remember you used to host our pep rallies? And I was like, yeah, you know what? I actually did host our pep rallies. Looking back, that just prepared me to MC at clubs and then to eventually DJ and to be where I'm at now, to get a radio gig and then to DJ where I'm at now. So
that was your training ground.
Yeah, that basically was. But had I known back then, I would have been like, man, let me put more time and effort into what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to accomplish.
Life has a funny way of preparing us without us even knowing it.
Yeah, for sure.
What school did you go to, by the way?
I went to Miami Sunset.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. I'm older than you, G.
Yeah, man.
I went to Sunset. Yeah, I'm a Kendall guy.
Yeah,
raised in Kendall my entire life.
I live there now. I used to live more up north, but I live there now. You know what? I love it, man. I love it there. It's peaceful. My family, we like it there. We're just chilling.
It's way too overly populated now.
It is.
There's way too many people in Kendall now.
There's some traffic going down on what's this, 88th?
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah, you got to leave at like 4 o'clock in the morning to make it to work by 9.
Jeez, man. But let's transition into something that I think is, Will Smith said something recently, and I 100%, like it really touched me. And he said racism, it's not that it's now happening again. It's just being filmed. You know what I mean? This has been something that has always happened in this country, specifically United States, for those that are watching elsewhere. And some people, it's hard for them to comprehend because they're in a bubble. Some people call it white privilege. Whatever the case is, it's an issue. Right. And we're seeing it day in and day out. I personally did not know that I was African American until about 6 years ago.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I've grown up with my Hispanic side of the family, and I never knew that I was half black. So 6 years ago when I found that out, a lot of things that have happened to me and a lot of things that I've always kind of a chip on my shoulder made absolute sense. And now with all the issues that are happening today, I feel like you and I need to have this conversation because there's people that like you and I that have a platform, and people need to know that this is not okay.
Right.
So right now, we, with the whole quarantine, and now, especially down here in Miami, we have a lot of protests and everything going on. Just talk to me about that. How do you feel about this whole issue going on right now in our city and in our country?
The protests, let's start with that.
Yeah.
It needed to be done. Yeah. It was a conversation that needed to be had. And it's just people, we've blanketed it. Like we've put a blindfold over our eyes, and I'm speaking as a country in general.
Yeah, definitely.
In order to see that there's systemic racism and injustices and police brutality and this and that, economic oppression. There's been all this stuff going on forever in the day, but we just chose not to bring it to the forefront. And not we, but America has chosen not to basically accept it and speak openly about it. And I'm watching the protest. It's great to see all races, all walks of life, standing for the same cause. Right? That's a beautiful thing. Now, for us being African American, it's like it's a little late. Yeah. You're a little late to the party, but I don't hold it against you. I'm happy you even showed up to the party.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I was having a conversation with some of my coworkers about this yesterday, and we were the same very topic. And we were talking about that. And I'm like, I'm not mad that they're just showing out or they're showing up now, because that I'm just happy that they're our allies and they're standing with us. And now it's moved from a country issue to an entire world. Like there's protests in 18 different countries. You know what that is?
That's unheard of.
That's insane. And every state here. So every state and 18 countries, the message is getting out.
Yes.
People are starting to wake up about what's going on with, systemic racism and the injustices that Black and people of color face. And I think it starts with the younger generation. 100%. Our generation we're the ones that are out there on the forefront. We're like, this is what we believe in. It's wrong. It's a matter of right and wrong, man. Like that's all it is. It's really that simple. It's right or wrong. Okay. Like if you understand that this is wrong, then just speak up about it, because you being silent is almost like you're complying to what's going on. Like we don't want that. Your silence is compliance.
100%. I could not have said that any better. I'm just glad. And just like you said, I'm glad that we're actually having these difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Because for so long, and I do believe that there are biases. Everyone has biases.
Yeah.
Now, there's a complete difference between biases, prejudices, and racism. I do feel like there's a very fine line between each of them. But I'm glad that people that just really did not understand or were maybe ignorant to the fact of not because they didn't care to know, but there was not enough information out there.
Right.
Even people in our Black community did not know the ways that they could support each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? And instead of tearing each other down, we could lift each other up and doing all these different things. I'm just glad that we're now having these conversations. Businesses are doing it. Celebrities are. Everyone's doing
major corporations.
Major corporations.
Yeah.
The fact that you go to Instagram now or you check your email and all these different companies are acknowledging, listen, we are not for this.
Right.
To me, that's like, wow.
Right.
We're starting something here.
Yeah. It's been America's black eye, but what America has done is just put a Band-Aid over it.
No pun intended.
And said, hey, you know what? You'll be okay. Just put this Band-Aid on this and you'll be fine. But man, it goes a lot deeper than that, man. Like I was watching a documentary and about prison reform. And it's crazy because African American and Latinos were going to jail at a higher rate for almost the same drug offense, right?
Yeah.
So this is like the crack epidemic, right? Now, obviously, we don't do drugs. We don't promote drugs or anything like that, right?
Yeah,
but still, like just to give you an example, so the African Americans and Latinos were going to jail for a longer period of time as opposed to their white counterparts. Now, the African and Latinos were selling crack. The white counterparts were selling cocaine. Everybody knows cocaine. Everybody knows what crack is, right?
Yeah.
That's cocaine. You just cook it.
Yeah.
I'm not a drug dealer. You
just know it.
I just know it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't partake in any of that stuff, but I just know it. But they were going to jail longer than, also why they were going to jail longer is because they couldn't afford the attorneys. So their white counterparts, let's say, you went to jail, our cameraman, and, he has his brother who's representing him. He's a nice attorney. He probably gets him out in three years or whatnot. Just take that plea there for 3 years. Me, we got public defenders. Nah, man.
Yeah.
So, they're not really going to fight it. So this has just been stuff that's ongoing forever and a day, man. I'm glad that there are discussions, and I'm glad that, I hate to use the term woke, but
it's facts.
It's factual. People are woke now. And again, it starts with that younger community who, their parents may think differently.
Yeah.
But they're speaking out. You know how many times I've been on Facebook or Instagram and seeing posts from people who are like, I'm going against everything my family has stood for or talked about. And I could, because I believe that this is wrong, and like you said, we all have our own set of biases and some prejudices, but come on, man.
The culture has become so toxic that even us on this end, we've allowed others to minimize it.
Yeah.
And we've allowed it to seep its way into culture.
Right.
And it's been impactful. It's been impactful to the point that people just are they just don't dream. They don't believe that they can achieve certain things. Like I remember going to school and I had a conversation. Back then I didn't understand. As I got older, I understood. I had a buddy of mine that he played basketball with me, and I remember he was so focused on playing basketball and getting a scholarship. Like that was his only focus. He didn't care about his grades. He didn't care about nothing else. He was black. And I told him, I won't say his name, but I told him, hey man, dude, like, and we were in 8th grade, middle school. Okay. I'm like, dude, like, why are you beating yourself up so much? You know what I mean? Like, you're just having a bad season. Like, don't stress out about college. You have 4 years left, you know, before you can actually, you know, make your mark and pick where you want to go. And he's like, this is the only way out for me, G.
This is way out.
This is the only way out. How many black lawyers have you seen? How many black doctors have you seen? Now, this was close to 20 years ago. You know what I mean? But when you don't have that example,
right,
you don't know that you can aspire to be something. And I'm so glad that today we have that. There's plenty of black-owned businesses. There's plenty of black people in different industries all around the board.
Yeah,
and I'm just loving it. I'm loving to see this.
I think we would have been woke a long time ago had we still learned about Black history in school.
Yes, the right way.
Like the right way.
The correct way.
Not just like, hey, dress up and tell your mama to bring sweet potato pie and call it a day, you know. Not just that, like how we learned about it, because you would have learned about the systemic oppression and you know, all that stuff, and the Jim Crow laws and how things were segregated, you know, and just place like they determined where you could live and where you couldn't live, and who you can interact with and who you couldn't interact with. Had we learned that back then, well, I knew about it, but had America learned that back then a little bit more, and I think we'd be in a better place today. Yeah. But a lot of people are just finding out things like that. And I mean, again, I'd rather you show up to the party than not show up at all. You know, even if you're late, it's all good, man. But we can go into a deeper conversation about that stuff, because I told you the book I'm reading.
Yeah. I can't wait to read it.
We need to move on that, because I'd be here forever.
Yeah.
I've learned way too much over the last week reading the book that I'm reading.
So another thing that you and I have in common is that we're men of faith. We love God. And how important has that walk? How important has that journey been in developing your purpose, or even figuring out what you're going to do professionally?
I think first and foremost, the journey is a never-ending journey.
Correct.
Because we will never be godlike. We're always, you know, that's our we want to be godlike, but God's on a different level. So just being a man of faith, man, I've grew up in, you know, with my grandfather was a deacon. So where I grew up in Daytona Beach, a deacon is basically under the pastor. Yeah. The people that don't know out there. So where I grew up in a small town in Daytona Beach. It's called Holly Hill, Florida. Population was probably like 15,000 people. Gee, this is literally where I grew up. My house next door, our church.
Come on now.
Imagine how many days I went to church.
Every damn day.
Come on, man. So that's instilled in you as a kid, and then you just move on. And then I'd admit that, you know, I've always been a man of faith, but I didn't go to church as much as I should have.
Same here.
But I'm a man of faith at the end of the day, man. And I have this saying that I pray every day, or it's not me, it's always him. So whenever I go to a gig, that's, you know, I always say it, like I'll close my eyes at the Heat game right before I go on, and I just thank him and say, it's not me, it's all you, because I'm just a representative of you.
Come on, that's so good.
And then I didn't get here without you. Like, you brought me here. You allowed me to be able to perform in front of these 20,000 fans. You allowed me to be on this TV show with Jamie Foxx. You allowed me to travel to this country to do what I'm doing over here. You allowed me to be on this radio. So I say that all the time, man. It's not me. It's always him.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
And no matter what people, like, this is what people don't understand. You don't have to go to church to be a person of faith. Like, you don't have to. Like, you could be a person of faith. I go to church, but you don't have to go to church to be a person of faith. You can stay at home and read your Bible and have an intimate relationship with God and be just as holy as the person that goes to church 3-4 nights a week.
Correct.
If not holier. You know, so.
100%. Going into, man, I love that.
I had another topic I was just about to go into as
Go
well,
into it.
but
Go-
let me
go
we
for it.
don't want to go there.
Go for it. Go for it.
Well, now going back to what's going on in the world, it
Yeah.
always I'm amazed by how people don't see what's going on as right and wrong, yet they claim to be Christians. And that's a deep, I'm not sure what God you serve,
Yes.
but you're going around saying you're Christian. And again, like we all sin, we all make mistakes, this, that, and the third.
Of course.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about right and wrong. We're talking about what's deep in your heart.
Morality.
Your morality. So, but you're going around claiming that you're Christian and you're telling people, if you don't like it, get out of my country. I'm sorry. Or if you don't like it, then go somewhere else. Or if you don't like it, then, that's how can you claim to love the same God I love, but you have all that hate and anger built up inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Christ-like, man. That's really not Christ-like.
At the end of the day, sin is sin. Whether it's wherever you fall short, because we all fall short.
Oh, for sure. Daily. Daily I
Every
fall
single
short.
day.
Daily.
Wherever you fall short, that's something that you need to work on.
Right.
Now, don't go ahead pointing somebody else's issue.
Right.
When you don't have that right
But
in your
whatever you fall short, that's between you and
between
God.
you and God.
It's not
Correct.
between everybody else to judge.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not.
It's really not.
100%. But to what you said, I can recall, there is scripture that does say, like, neither Jew nor Gentile, doesn't matter where you're from, we all fall short, but not just that. There's no discrimination in Christ. Like, Christ loves us all, regardless of your skin color, regardless of where you come from, economic status. Like, we are all, he's no respecter of persons.
Right.
So I've had that several DMs of people telling me, why you posting about that? Like, it should be all lives matter. Yes, all lives do matter, but you're diminishing right now the movement that Black lives do matter.
Mm-hmm.
There's been oppression for forever, it seems like. Don't diminish it. It's like somebody posted recently. It's like if your house is on fire and the other house has a plumbing issue.
Right.
Which one is more relevant at the moment? The one that's on fire. So let's fix that first.
Right. Before it burns down.
Before it burns down.
Or let's go even deeper. I posted something not too long ago that I found online. It's Luke 15. It says there's Jesus has 100 sheep. One goes missing. Right. Now he goes to get that one sheep. It's not like the other 99 don't matter. He's not saying the other 99 don't matter. He's just going to get that one that's in danger.
Come on.
So that's that. Basically, it's in his word. It doesn't get any more solid than that.
It doesn't.
Like, it's in his word. So I posted that the other day and people started losing their mind in a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
In a very good way. And I was like, well, I'm not going to take credit for this because I didn't write this. I found this, and this was written by a Caucasian Christian man. I found it, and I felt it in my spirit to repost it, and it took off.
100%.
My social media was on fire. Like fire. I'm like, well, it makes sense, especially for all you Christians out there or all you believers, people of faith.
And you know what's great? You gave a little bit of Jesus, you sprinkled a little bit of Jesus, and people started eating it up.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I want to ask you, I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions, and we'll finish up with this. I want to know, because you're somebody that I do look up to. Who are 3 people that you really look up to? Maybe they could be a mentor, maybe someone that you don't even know. 3 people that are just examples for you to look up to.
Man, that's an interesting question. I'm sure I have an abundance of them. First and foremost, my mother, single mom, single Black mom from a small town, moves to Miami. Now, if you don't know about Daytona Beach, it's white or black. That's all it is. Especially when I was growing up, and especially in the town where I grew up. That's where the Daytona 500 is. So you can just imagine, So single Black mom. I have an older brother as well as a younger brother. But before he came into the picture, my mom decided that we needed she wanted to make a better life for herself and her kids. So she moves to Miami, this big city, and raise boys. There were times we went without stuff, but I never knew it. My mom would say, oh, well, I can't do it now, but I'll get it done. We moved a lot all throughout Kendall. There was times I came home, and there were 3-day eviction notices on there, but she still managed to pay the rent before we got booted out. You know,
Superwoman, huh?
Oh my gosh, there were times where I'd be on the phone one night, the next night the phone's disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
These are all real stories, and this is probably why I live the way I live now, and I'm so humbled by that. There were times where, again, where she just couldn't provide things that I probably didn't need at the time. Like, I've always wanted the new Jordans. It's probably why I have 100 pair of sneakers in my closet right now. I've always wanted the nice Jordans that you're wearing right now.
Thank you.
But mom couldn't get that, you know? So looking back at all that, I think my mom would have to be number one, you know? And then even taking a step further, no matter what she was going through, she never let us to believe whatever it was, you know? Like, she never had it. She had a poker face, if I can say. She had a poker face the entire time. Yeah. Like, we never knew what was bothering her. We never knew that we were struggling or whatnot. I still had $2 every day for lunch, because lunch was like, I think $1.50 or $2. I had it every day. I'm not sure how she got it, but she always had it. But there were times where we had to eat hot dogs 3 days a week. That's probably why I hate hot dogs now, you know, and hamburger.
You mean the ones with the tricolor hot dogs?
My God.
You know what I'm talking about.
Like, we ate the hot dogs you got to put in the microwave because we wanted, But my mom, first and foremost. Secondly, man, that's my gosh. I have so many, but I'll go with a guy who he was a partner at a law firm that I worked at, the law firm in the
where you first started.
Where I first started. Okay. He just taught me a lot, man, because I started that job at 19. I started at 20 because I spent my 21st birthday there, and I left at 26 when I went on my first tour. So he just taught me how to be a responsible adult for the most part, even though I was a runner. That's what they call, hey, go make me copies of this, go do this, go do that. You know, hey, can you go pick up lunch for us? That's all I did. But I learned how to be in that professional environment, learn how to speak to clients and stuff like that, and learn how to basically set myself up later on in life. Is probably why my credit score is the way it is right now, because someone taught me, listen, if you don't have it in the bank, you don't need it. That's how you should determine if you need a credit card. All right, you had a credit card, cool. Now, if you want to go buy these Jordans that G's wearing right now, and you want to use your credit card, if you don't have it in the bank, you probably don't need it. So learning examples like that, and also
we don't get taught at school.
Oh my gosh, you don't get taught that at school. So just learning how to be a man and be responsible, which is why I have my company now and stuff like that. So he would probably have to be number 2. His name is Barry Stein. I'm sure he will listen because he listens to everything I do. And third has to be Fox. Jamie is, like you explained earlier, we all have some kind of talent, right? We all have some kind of God-given talent. Yeah. Agreed? Right. Now it's up to us to discover that talent and to
cultivate it.
Yeah, cultivate it, right? So Jamie is one of the only people that I know that can just do anything.
It's gold.
So then you start to ask yourself, God, like, how is he able to do every single thing? What relationship with God do you have? Because I need to know. Because we can all do some things that are great, you know, but he can do everything. And Jamie just taught me to he has his saying that we're gonna ride this till the wheels fall off. That's his saying, man. And to get involved in everything. That's the one thing that he told me that sticks to me to this day. That's why you see radio personality. That's why you see TV personality. You know, with the show with Jay Wild that we shot the pilot for. That's why you see podcaster. That's why you see Miami Heat DJ. That's why you see, you know, Florida Marlins DJ when I was there, you know, stuff like that. That was been there with the Florida Marlins. Yeah. Because, or radio personality, having my hands in everything, that just basically it's longevity at the end of the day. And I learned that from him. So not just focusing on one particular thing. No, get yourself involved in everything. You don't have to be necessarily great in all of it, but you know what? You're just expanding your brand in each area that you go into. Yeah. Or each avenue you go into, and that's the most important thing he's taught me. Like was to do that, and I've always had that mentality since I met him. This is going on, it'll be 14 years, man, in December that I've been rocking with him.
That's a blessing.
So having someone like that as a mentor and looking up to him, this is why I am the way I am now. And I have my hands in so many things, man.
And I appreciate something that, like, on social media lately, his voice has been loud, and I'm happy and proud that he's being loud about the topics that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for so long I've watched him from, In Living Color,
right,
to his show, the Jamie Foxx show, and everything that he's done ever since. And you see him in one light, but now to see him be an activist in this realm right now, it's like, man, I admire you so much more.
And what's crazy is that he didn't just start doing this. Like, this started a while ago. Like, if you look back at his stuff, him and Trayvon Martin mom are cool. Like, they are like this. He was down here.
Yeah.
Like, when all that stuff went down, you know, like him and Trayvon Martin's mom are like super, super tight. So it's been a while since he's been like that. And that's inspirational as well, because, you know, a lot of these celebrities kind of sit behind their $1 million mansion walls and, well, let me just donate money to the cause. Well, that doesn't do anything. You got to be out there on the forefront, man. Like, if you really believe in something, whatever it is, you got to be out there on the forefront showing these people that, because you do have that platform. Yeah. Like, you can give all the money you want. That, I mean, that's great. It may help these causes. That's great. But you need to be out there and show your followers that you mean what you say, for the most part. What do you want to be remembered for? Man, I just want to be remembered by just a person who's just excited to be doing what he's doing, excited to be able to touch lives, you know, by way of music, by way of speech, and more importantly, I want to be remembered as a great dad, man. Yeah. I think before I had my daughter, everything was career driven. So the only thing that made sense for me was the next goal to accomplish. What's next? And yeah, that's what next. And that fueled me, like, to the point where, I didn't have a personal life. Like, that just fueled me, like knocking out these goals one by one, right? Yeah. And that was my passion. That was my burning desire. Just work. And then you have a child. Changes. And you're like, wow, let me just sit back and realize that the whole thing is now different. Totally different. Like, you just broke up the entire like, everything's done. Like, now you are the number one focus. Yeah. After God. Yeah. And then, you know, let's figure it out from there. So, you know what I can equate that to, though? If, like, I don't know if you have problems with your sight, but I do. I'm blind. So what I remember about 6 months ago, I had to change my prescription because I just couldn't see well anymore. And my eyesight's been getting really poor lately. And I went to go see the doctor. We did the test and everything. My eyes luckily came back fine, but I need to get a new prescription. So when she put those contact lenses on, I saw everything. Like, I saw edges that I didn't even notice before. Yeah. And that's being a father now for 4 months. That's how I feel like my life has been. Like, I just see everything completely different. Yeah, I think that's what a child does to you. You know, and again, man, I was always on the go, and I was just so concerned with work. Yeah. You know, work was just everything for me. And then once I had my child, it was like, okay, well, this is not the important thing. Now the important thing is to be the best father I could possibly be, to be the best role model, to provide for my child, not just material things, but just to give her a better life than I had. And I had a great life, man. My mom did it all. Like, she is my hero. Yeah. You know, especially living in Miami by yourself, you know, well, without a male companion and stuff like that. So I just want to be the best father, best person. And when my daughter gets older, she's like, you know, that was my dad. My dad did this. My dad did that. Like, and in terms of work, man, just bring people together and encourage people. And I like to say my purpose is moving the masses, touching the souls. Like, I want to touch people's soul. Whether it's at a Heat game or a show or a club or whatever it is, if I had an interaction with you and you went home a better person, I've done my job. Let me tell you, my man, you're well on your way, brother. You've moved me. I know my guys over here are moved as well, and everybody here watching has been moved, man. And
my man, I wanna thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for just standing behind my vision and what I'm trying to accomplish. But tell our everyone that's watching and listening, where can we like listen to your podcast? I know you have that coming up. Where can we connect with you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, the podcast will be coming up really soon. So just check my IG for that. I'm looking forward to that. So my IG is at DJ MDOT. Yeah, that's basically it, man. And thank you for having me on. This was a different podcast because I've been like I told you off camera, I've been doing the podcast circuit by hitting all of my friends' podcasts, but it's normally the same thing, like asking me about the career and stuff like that. And we didn't really go into that much detail on that because we were talking about other issues that are more relevant and more important today. And I appreciate that, man. Having that platform. I appreciate you having me on and being able to talk about that stuff as opposed to like, so how long have you known Jamie? Yeah. How long you been with the Heat? Not that there's anything wrong with that because I'm so grateful for everything I've accomplished in my career, but I'm a little bit, you gotta pull the blinds back if you really want me to talk about
it's
stuff.
all love, bro. That's what it's about over here, man. Thank you for being on here.
Sure.